Okay, hello everybody. Today is February 19th, 2026. This is this is 8th meetup of February 19th. Yeah, corrected. This is 8th meetup for Serbian Agentics Foundation chapter. And as usually, I will first introduce myself. My name is Dragan Spiridonov, and I'm an ambassador for Agentics Foundation here in Serbia and Agentic Quality Engineer. Few words about the foundation. It's a not-for-profit organization dedicated to making AI innovation and education open to everyone by supporting the development and deployment of open source agentic AI system. What is agentic AI? Autonomous AI agents capable of independent reasoning in action. And this system represents the next frontier. Most of the contributions are open source. We are education first, grounded in open source values and responsible AI deployment. AI safety and ethics are really important topics. Everything is community driven. We are building a global network of developers, researchers, and enthusiasts. And you can track some of the events happening. Here is the one live happening now. Next one's coming all around the world. New meetups every week in new chapters starting to show. Okay, let me remove the controls so we can see better what's happening. And here in our meetups, we started working on showing the Agentic Foundation members tools and how to apply them doing the agentic engineering of software products. In this case, we started with the community social network as selected on one of the previous meetups by the community here in Novi Sad. And for like our tool set, what we are using, and I need to enable this one also when we start doing it. So I'm running all my environments from the dev pod. They will start a container in Docker desktop, and then the Visual Studio Code will connect to that server, will connect to that instance. So I'm working in a secured environment. My main setup and tools I'm using is Claude Code. I just updated to the latest version, to 147 today. CloudFlow for orchestration of agents, development, research, planning, GitHub Actions, so anything deployment related, and Agentic UE fleet. Those tools can be installed using npm packages. So in order to install latest Agentic UE, you can install it by npm I or install globally Agentic UE latest. And after that, you should initialize the Agentic UE fleet inside the project. But before that, like steps. First, install Claude. So this is the command for installing Claude. I will share. I have like one document that I share. Install Claude, then install CloudFlow latest, then install Agentic UE latest, and first CloudFlow init start all, then Agentic QE init auto in order, because my setup appends to CloudFlow. CloudFlow overrides the settings JSON. So that's like steps to get, and then we are ready to go. I will start using alias. I created alias for starting Claude with dangerous skip permission flag, so I don't need to type every time that long prompt. So I will, or terminal command, and I'm invoking instance. Last time we started implementation based on the GOP plan created based again on the original specification and ADRs created in the meanwhile using architecture decision documents that defined decisions that we made. We refined those in previous sessions. And then at the end of the last session, we started, okay, let's start implementation. And the agent started doing the scaffolding and maybe even something more. We can see already folder apps with API web subfolders. So I will now like direct the agents to read implementation plan.md and analyze current status of implementation per phases, report findings so we can continue from there. Yes?
Is it allowed to ask questions?
Yeah, of course. That's welcome, not allowed, it's welcome. So feel free.
Did you use specific skill to plan? To create
Yes. So I will repeat that, but you can watch the previous one. I will show. So there is not a skill, there is an agent. So when you install CloudFlow agent, one of the agents from the CloudFlow is goal planner, this one, that does goal-oriented planning, creates does state assessment, action analysis, then plans and executes and does dynamic pre-planning if needed. So here are like the actions that it should follow. And it creates really, as you can probably see, not here, this one. So it creates current state and desired state, dependency graph between the phases. So, and which phase with which quality gate at the end. Okay?
And all of these markdown files are saved in GitHub?
Yes. So they are tracked and everything is shared in the community repo. It's public. Yes. So everything is available. On purpose, everything is open source and shared. My Agentic QA fleet, CloudFlow. Now, Ruven is doing the renaming. So soon it will be RuFlow. It will not be CloudFlow anymore, but okay, that's something to come. So I needed to do some modifications here because I wanted to add, it didn't know the correct implementation plan, which one. So I want to ground it, which plan to read, and then to analyze current status so we can continue. So as I didn't continue the last session, this is to show you also how to continue if something happens and you cannot continue from where you were. So this is the way how I'm going back. There is always original plan. There is a status. I can, ask it, look at the git diff between the last commits or last 3 or 5 commits that we did to check the changes that we made. But this is really grounding right now, Claude, inside the implementation plan. So it knows, what to assess if it's done and what it's the next phase to take on. So, we will give it some time to contemplate on on the solution. Any more questions? While it's contemplating, I can show other things. That's what I'm usually doing. Yes? Oh, I had so much issues in the last 3 days. And a lot of 500s. And, I see now, Brad's also joined. So, he, even called me, it was this morning or yesterday, like this morning, like, oh, I'm having some issues, no, they were like misbehaving totally. I assume because of this new release with the Sonnet 4.6. So it was released 2 days ago, and they are still, when they are switching and adding new models, always like in those 2 or 3 days, the whole system starts misbehaving. So definitely, yes, problems with Claude. That's why I switch, occasionally back to GLM models. So, and there are also other tools you can use to wrap up Claude. And that's something that I will use now even more often. Let me just first check, and then I will continue. Not just the open code. There are I have wrappers. I can use the Claude code with other models, either Open Router, Olama, GLM, whatever. You can, even with the OpenAI or Gemini API or subscription models. So that's also community created. Let me just find it. So it's Clasp. Yeah, so this one, I'm using this Jed from Agentics Foundation, also one of the contributors. I can share this also later. So this is like a agent super proxy on top. It's like a wrapper on top of the Claude that will do the routing, and not only routing, but the translation, because they're not compatible. Anthropic endpoints are not compatible with OpenAI, so there needs to be a translation in order for Claude Code. So that's why you need a proxy to access some of the things. GLM, for instance, models don't need a proxy because they are compatible with the Anthropic. Okay, so let's see. Status, scaffolding partially complete. So, that's something that we already saw. We stopped it, so we didn't even leave it, finish. So this is not, okay, proceed and fix any build issues. Okay, continue. As we wrap up the phase 0, I will ask you to start. So the next phase, I will ask you to start a swarm and work on the next phase, or maybe even a couple of phases in parallel. I just want to wrap up, like give the basic. When we look at the initial plan, so this is scaffolding. So we need to have all this before we can proceed with building the shared infrastructure and the rest of the things that the system depends on. And using domain-driven approach and architectural decision record, that's like a new thing that we started doing since 2026 at the beginning.
Part of the flow.
Yes, so that's also part of the CloudFlow. You have the system architect that you can invoke to create a DDD or ADR specification for your project. And it's a system architecture designer responsible for high-level technical decisions and system design. So this is the main one. There should be, I think, even some skills, but I didn't use, because I already know by name each of the agents from CloudFlow. I'm invoking them, but there it is, DDD design skill. Sorry. So you can use even this skill, and this skill will call the agents in it. Yeah, just invoke the DDD design skill from CloudFlow. So this is the CloudFlow skill. My skills are, slightly different. So Claude skills, my skills have something that's called evaluation levels. Tiers, so trust tiers. So that's additional thing, because I implemented 3 levels of validation in order to prove that the behavior of the skill will not change with the new models being released, and by using with different models. This is one of the, and for instance, so schema has its own output JSON that it needs to match. Then there is a script, or there is a script for validation in the validation here. There is a script that will be invoked that calls and verifies against this JSON. And then the third level is the evaluation against different models to verify the behavior of the skill. Okay. Okay, it's still installing. Okay, not found. Okay, install dependencies. If you want to install. Okay, let's see. Oh, it's still installing. So, any more questions while we are waiting for this? I'm, more for this interactive thing than, me going and constantly showing the same thing. So if you have something, I can, dive deeper in explaining some of the concepts.
Based on what we talked about, where the tools stored that you're using in some MCP config file, or
So when you install the Agentic QE fleet in the project or in globally, there will be an npm package. So let me, just show you. Let's ask Claude to show exact path. So I know there is like a node modules, npm, blah, 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 blah. There is like a long path. I'm not trying to remember it. So let's install what you need. Okay. So where, okay, again. Show me the path where Agentic QE fleet is npm package is installed. Not that one. It's not a gent QE. Gent QE. Agentic QE fleet. Okay. Okay, let me, because on escape this will go. Okay, I don't want to turn off the, and that provides a lot of things from the fleet, because agents and skills. So let's go to the definitions of the QE agents. While this one is searching for the pattern, they use calls to agentic before starting to do something. They go and fetch from the patterns in the database. So as you are you already started doing that. So as you're working in the projects, database inside Agentic QE fleet, this one here, and let me see if this one works. No. No. I'm missing a plugin. Just give me a second. SQLite.
Also, all this is saved in Claude MD, right? Like all the tools that you are using and like how to install them.
Not everything. Some basic instructions, yes. So when you install originally CloudFlow, maybe I can show you that. So let me do that in Cloud Code. So you can run it from here. So run npx CloudFlow at latest init force. Report content of Claude MD when it is created by init. Okay, this one will work sometime. So I can show you the clean, because he is also updating and changing. But as originally it's for my taste, it's above 500 lines. So I condensing it. So I'm asking the Claude, initially when I started, I will ask Claude, go and leave only important information here, put the rest of the information in helper files and add me links. So creating a hierarchical structure in your Claude MD also helps because it will fetch the information when it's needed only. So you're not polluting the context and adding to initial context. So my Claude MD right now version is, less than 300 lines. And this is now combo of both CloudFlow. Mine is like 150 and this, and I initially asked it, and some of the things are again in some additional files. They should be referenced somewhere. I think, yeah, there should be some references here. So I asked it in one of the previous sessions, we asked it, to do the restructure of Claude MD in order to keep it lean. So that's like a thing. And it will have the most important commands it needs immediately here and important rules. Okay. Okay, this one finished. So to answer your question, Alexa, here is the path. So it's, there is like a whole, application package there with the functionality, both CLI and MCP server are in this folder in node modules.
I thought it's a bunch of MCPs
Nope.
in JSON config and just calling each other.
No. And now when we go back to the one of the agents, right? Claude agents v3. Oh, let's give these agents to work. This one is still working. What are you working on? Yeah, I need to check what. Escape. I forget that I have. What is taking so long? Is something wrong with the npm install? And it ate my what?
I didn't click on
the yeah.
I can see problem with antivirus.
Okay. Explain me what. Sorry. Analyze .claude agents v3 folder for QE agents and analyze AQE, MCP, and CLI and explain what I can do with that. And this is not in my project. This is in where it's only installed. So Claude agents v3 folder. Okay. Why? Not why, but what? Come on. Explain.
You're missing an E.
What?
At the beginning.
Okay. Okay. Oh my God, already this much of packages. That's why it took that long. Yeah, I need to check later what it's pulling. Yeah.
Just click yes.
Yeah, no. It need, it has a tendency also to get. I in several occasions I needed to ask it to optimize its package JSON and to really look at the dependencies using the Sherlock review skill. So when I'm trying to find if it's really using some dependencies in the system, I'm using I have specific skills for drilling down deeper. Okay, agent definitions. So
How can I find this project on GitHub?
it's shared if you apply to the Luma event. I'm sharing with the follow-up in the follow-up email. Usually, everybody get a link to the community app. But if you go to my repo, so if you find like professor for testing, and then there is a community somewhere around my here, community social network. But you can, this is for the community social network, but the one with the Agentic UI fleet, it's this one. So you can see the whole source code and you can fork it and you can modify it. Yes, this is my fleet. This is the one that I created.
But also you said that you are like working on this social network.
We are creating the community network using the CloudFlow and this, yes.
The community network is also in your
Yes. Yeah. In one of my open source repos available there. Okay, this one needs to work still. And this one is looking at what it can do. Okay. And while they are working.
One more short question. When you're, how do I say, when you're building, for example, something like PRD or some document or developing a task feature, how much do you, how many times do you use the brutally honest review? As much as possible until he says it's so good, or you decide, okay.
Now, for documents, I'm not using that much brutal honesty. For documents, I'm using the QA reviewer. The requirements analyzer, sorry, validator, or what's the name? So the requirements skill. Brutally honest is after the phase. So when we, now do start the phase, we will do the phase and then I will ask the brutal, yes, how many times it needed.
I did yesterday, I tried to see what would happen.
And?
I get 10 iterations and
it will keep finding things.
at the end it was, I mean, it's one period document, it cannot go that far.
No,
it
yeah.
was 33 mistakes in total found, ambiguities and everything. So it really did a good job.
Nice. So, okay, let's see. This one is still mismatches you. Okay, this one is fixing problems. So what can we do? A lot of that. And where are my? Oh, this is also a nice one, addition for the testing ones. But yeah, I didn't show that, but originally when you initialize in the project, there will be a code intelligence scan. So it will create the scan of your system if that's already active project. There are, some, really nice.
There they are.
Yes.
It was the name of the tree with like 4 depth levels. I remember you mentioned 2 sessions ago. It was like something 4. I don't remember.
Skill or what? What are we talking about?
It was for HNSW build.
That hierarchical and navigable small worlds.
Something about
C4 model. C4 model. So yeah, so my code intelligence is applying the C4 model. So starting like from the system context to container level to component and then into code. So like zooming in, so you can, to 4 levels. Yeah.
created an AISP
and
then created a vector.
Okay.
The normal page rank. algorithm, I don't know, 20 iterations, and then I get the most important stuff left condensed in, let's say, less than 1,000 tokens. And then we can pass that as like.
Nice. So you're going deep. I like it. Native binary, still installing. Come on. I wanted to start coding. I don't want to, install the whole session. If I knew that this will take this long, I would do the preparation and save you the time. What? Oh, let me then answer the second question. So Claude MD is untracked. Okay. I don't want to track it. Explain me. So behavior rules, file organization. It's not giving the whole content, but here, maybe I can create a PR. No, better not. Yeah, maybe. Let's create a PR. But it says it's not tracked. So let's check there. So this is the content for the Claude MD when only CloudFlow is installed. So it has now behavior rules, explains file organization, security rules, swarm orchestration, model routing. And that's also a thing that I took from the CloudFlow, because most of the ideas, and I originally created everything using CloudFlow as an inspiration. So when I started doing it, I just pointed Claude to CloudFlow repo and said, okay, let's try to create agentic version of this, or quality related version of this. And a couple of months later, here we are. Okay, so yeah, this was the CloudFlow originally. Let me now run px agentic QE at latest init auto and report after and off. So let's see what was the size here. So let's see, maybe Ruben did already some changes. Yes, he changed. So already his new version is less than 500 lines. So good. It's not huge as it used to be. So yeah, optimization done. Okay. Missing. Come on, guys. The whole session only installing. That's not good. So let's answer some questions from the audience.
I have a question, but I want to share something.
Yes, please do.
I've been vibe coding myself for 3 weeks now, and I decided to organize a community of people who want to write code something for Novi Sad.
Okay. Oh, nice.
It's called the Novi Sad Relational Tech, and I came here to tell you about this.
Oh, nice.
Maybe you guys would like to, collaborate.
Let's create a small hackathon around that. Maybe exactly. that would be a good idea. Maybe we can also see with Vukashin. There are events already, but maybe some weekend we can do some hackathon stuff.
Exactly. So if you don't mind, could you please open the landing page that I created for this?
Okay. Let's see.
It's not big, but
yes.
give you the idea. nsrt.netlify.app.
Netlify app. Netlify. Net, right?
App.
App.
So you can switch to Serbian, but I don't.
No need. Yeah, we can read the English.
I don't what the translated.
So there is, okay, let me give you a star.
Thank you.
So I like reading it like this also. Okay, but let's take it. So upcoming event.
I added your Meetup to the landing page, but it's not showing anymore because
it's past. Yeah. We already passed it. Okay.
So I might coded a small Chrome extension called Dear Neighbors,
Okay.
but it's just like MVP or a demo. And I have some other ideas that I haven't tried to implement yet.
Nice. I like it, and this would be a good topic. I was thinking about the topic for the hackathon because Agentic Foundation is started doing these hackathons. We did with France TV5, like a media hackathon. They are now starting. Couple of new ones are coming. They will be global, so I will invite also local community to join those events. They are open to whoever. We can create a team, like our team, and then join. Because previously I would, do, solo, from Serbia. I didn't have a team to, put in place, but this would be also a good topic for a local event. So, I appreciate, you sharing this with us. So, yeah.
If we manage to build something together, maybe, like.
I expect we will manage, if we put, all the clothes and tokens burning like, for 2 days, we will have something working.
Yeah, and then maybe like, like local media will write about this, attract more like people who join your meetups. So it's like a flywheel.
Yep, thank you. Good idea. Okay, still, it's fixing now, some problems. Looks like it found problems in the scaffolding itself. Okay, yeah, I will take a look. I will leave this open for a while. Something more. Oh, this is a thing. I started, I think they released this couple of weeks ago, and I started taking a look. There is like a command, insights, you can use in the Claude code if you're using it for a while, and it will, give you insights. For instance, this is like 17 days, 69 sessions. Ooh, what's this? Scaffolding? That it already started the project. What? Annex projects. So it created complete scaffolding and started the server, right? Yes. Yes, this is the app project for this. Okay, thank you. What I was showing, the insights. So it was interesting. Me working on the agentic QA fleet. So this is my insights because I needed to restart. So what I worked on: self-learning, persistence, skills evaluation, quality tooling, using 16 key heads for research analysis, a lot of fixes, 12 bug fixes this week only. Yeah. How I use, I'm a high velocity release manager and system operator who drives Claude code through intense multi-step workflows at a relentless pace. I love, how it, goes but okay. Iterative correction under pressure. Yeah, I launch Claude into complex release pipelines and course correct aggressively when things go sideways. That's definitely how I do it. I don't write detailed upfront specs. I issue high-level directives and then expect Claude to figure out the details and then intervene. I'm tolerating Claude exploring, but lose patience with wrong approaches. Yeah, that's like a thing that I keep repeating. You're not listening what I'm, and you're not reading your rules, even though I gave you. So what I did impressive, relentless release engineering, deep diagnostic debugging sessions, structured thinking heads analysis. So, okay, some nice things, but incorrect project-specific configuration. So this is Claude losing his nuts, but this was at the beginning before I added release skill. So this is now has like a 10 days or like maybe 12 days of without the skill and only 5 or 6 days with the skill, so it cannot know. And it's again offering me to create the same skill. And I already have the release skill. So use your critical thinking, analyze. There will be good advices, but sometimes it will, just, be careful what it's suggesting to you and pick the things that you see value in. So still building, session of building, guys, sorry for this, but at least we had the MPX server up and running. To show you maybe some of the tools again. These are things that I'm planning to take a look more in deeper. So as I already mentioned in previous sessions, the concept of the North Star when you are working with AI-assisted agents. This is from the Kiwi land, from down below, from our chapter in New Zealand. Guys like Chris Barlow and Simon McCallum. This is like a really doctor, PhD doctor. He created this like a 6-animal model that I'm see a lot of relation to me using the 16 he heads from Edward de Bono, like for lateral thinking. This also I'm like seeing a parallel where this uses the similar approach of invoking like a different perspectives to analyze the problem from, in this case, like he, matched this to animals like bear, visionary, and leader, cat, cynic, and risk. So, I see like risk like a black hat, a visionary like that's like a yellow. What we see, we can do it. Like, I'm mapping this now to the 16 key heads. So this is, I like this approach and I will probably try it. And Chris built on top of that like a campaign mode that matches like a gamification, so journeys. So turning the development into a game mode. And this is something that I'm, will probably try, to investigate more because, and he already has like even he created a website where you can go and, use it to see, gain levels and, gain skills. And this type of guild thing, that's also something that I'm, really appreciating in this community, as you get this amazing type of, fabulous ideas, just, popping around. And everybody are trying to build on top of other people's work. And upgrade, add some like flavor from their side. So this is something on my plan to play with. So this combo of like a 6-animal model and campaign mode. Then a couple of let me find where it is. Also members from community started building on top of my agentic QA fleet. For instance, this Forge, Iken Okpala from, I think he's from South Africa. He used my agentic QA fleet and built on top of BDD, behavior verification, 7-gate approach. Like going through his version of Forge autonomous loop for controlling the quality of results. So I will share all these links, in the follow-up with the community, and I will probably put that on in the video on the YouTube because everything is recorded and it will be uploaded. one more skill created like a combo, combining the CloudFlow with the agentic QE, like a build with quality skill, created by Mondvip from London chapter. So he created this skill using, again, combination of CloudFlow orchestration created by Ruv and my agentic QE fleet to get like a combo system, because I'm using a lot of let's say building blocks that Ruv provided, like the HISONA uniform learning system, HNSW indexing for searching, dream cycles, Q-learning. So these are overlapping things between our platforms. Intelligent model routing, tiny density, that's something that I took from him. Then the quality gate approach from agentic fleet and so on. So there are already, people are trying to combine these into a new stuff. So you can, start experimenting, because all of these are open source and MIT licensed. So yeah, any questions? I will now, drink some water. For those that are like first times here, make sure this is like a new stuff. So now, while I'm waiting for this to work, I'm showing new thing that Ruven created at the beginning of this week. And this is something that's, my assumption is this will change, how the systems behave, from now on. And I still need this to sink in. I need to wait for weekend to sit down and work on trying to now, because on top of what he already did with the Ru vector, as I'm using that in a number of places, those concepts and building blocks from the Ru vector crates. If you take a look at all the crates and all the modules available here, I'm using Prime Radiant. I'm using Ru vector attention. I'm using the Ru vector core. I don't know. Yeah, you can pick like GNN. Yeah, this one. Like yeah. So a number MinCut. So there are already Rust packages you can just plug in, and Ruv LLM, like a complete local model that's really small one and can be trained. Like you even have like a pre-trained version, and this is the new stuff. So RVF, cognitive container, that's like a new format, everything in a file. So file that stores vector embeddings, carries LoRa adapter deltas, embeds GNN graph states, and includes a bootable Linux microkernel, and everything runs in 5.5 kilobyte WASM runtime. So this is he's already with his Cognitium chip. So, what it offers. So, I will share this link. You can go to try, but this is like the anatomy, one file container that has everything you need from a LLM, because classical transformers are now, let's say, they're power intensive. That's why we need GPUs. That's why we need, big power plants. This changes the game. And inventor of internet reached out to him. I just saw he shared this like 8 hours ago. They will probably want to take a look at this for the Google DeepMind project. So they just reached out 8 or 10 hours to Ruv to take a look at this, because this is like new again a new level. So Ruven is unlocking a new level every couple of months for every one of us, and I need to see how I can try to now implement this into some or things that I'm already using. Okay. Okay, so row vector with all the crates and examples, that's the base for whatever row is creating. Then from row vector, next level is the agentic flow. So if you need like a production grade long running agents, you just use the agentic flow. If you need the orchestration platform to work and develop, then you use the CloudFlow. All of them are tightly connected and all of them are benefiting from the row vector and the basic modules created there. And each of them provides another layer of modules that you can use. Because in each repo, if you go in each of those repos, you will see that Ruven is now packing everything as submodules. And Agentic UI Fleet, he's adding a lot of stuff as a plugins. So CloudFlow now has like a plugins. And one of the plugins, like first plugin, it was the Agentic UI Fleet. So first plugin for the CloudFlow was Agentic UI Fleet. So yeah, I wanted to show the packages. Yeah, here. So for instance, this one, if you need like to protect your agents and your AI applications for any type of attacks, prompt injections, jailbreak attempts, or sensitive data exposures, you just point your AI-assisted tool to this, repo and ask it, implement this in my project, and you will get the, high-performance security library designed to protect your application. Yeah. I'm quite familiar with a lot of these modules because I'm benefiting in my building from most of them, is I'm usually just directing Claude, clone CloudFlow or row vector or whichever repo, analyze, and let's see, how we can build in this context. And then I give it, my context in which direction I want to go. And it will just pick up the building blocks. But, it will, you will need a lot of iterations until you get fully connected building blocks. So it will, create a beautiful code, beautiful test, beautiful models, everything is implemented, I'm done, and then when you try to run, but it's not connected, it's not integrated, it's not persisting. So, a number of iteration until you get to the whatever it needs. So we will finish today creating this. Really, I need to, this is, my apology because I didn't know that this part of phase 0 will take this long. I expected this was finished so we can just continue today with, phase 1 and really seeing agent swarms doing their things. For now, we are just looking at maybe it's even building something. Let me see. No, only 7 files change. No, it's still just, scaffolding, preparing let's see what it changed. Yeah. But from first line, from like fourth line to first line, what's the change? I like how sometimes it spends, tokens. Okay, ESLint missing. TypeScript, okay. Okay. But that's not, oh, this shouldn't be track, or maybe would. Aha, this is the output, okay. And let's see. Okay, schema. Okay, it's still doing the thing, but yeah, I don't know why. Probably, MPX is misbehaving. Let's see now what, because it's 16 minutes is doing the, what? NX graph print affected. kill. Let's see what it will tell. When I kill it, and also an interesting fact, like all the things that Claude Code is adding in the last couple of, or let's say 6 months, like 95% matches with the CloudFlow. And that's something that Ruben implemented already, and they're just, picking up now these themes, new thing that Claude added, and subtasks and planning agent, and like 95% matches. Now they even have the memory. I don't know if you know that, guys. So it has its own memory.md file that it will save somewhere in the, I think, root of the .cloud somewhere.
So
Yes?
this community social network repo,
Yes?
why it hasn't been updated for?
It's on the branches.
Oh, we have a lot of.
Yeah, it's on the branch. You see, I'm working on the DDD approach branch now. I didn't create it. So originally, it's just that first, I on purpose left the main there to see what was the starting point, and then switched to working on branches. Okay, okay. Waiting for you to go to launch phase 1. Say the word. Start a swarm of agents to implement phase 1. Implement, integrate, verify. No shortcuts. That was a long one. Oh, because it did like multiple lines. Okay, so looks like we will see agents starting the swarm. So let's see now how the swarm will start.
I usually call type act queen coordinator or agent, and to be sure.
No, this is because I on purpose did it like this to show you keyword swarm in this case will be used to trigger CloudFlow agents swarm. So I expect here to call the CloudFlow MCP tools and start the swarm. I didn't tell it explicitly, but based on the CloudMD rules, it should do that. I'm testing it constantly to see, sometimes I'm give it like explicit instructions, sometimes I'm reducing in order to see if it will, derail from the expected path. It's launching, but probably as a subtask, so I'm not sure how much we will be able to see now what it's doing. But yeah, it's not calling. It didn't start the swarm. So it's just calling the coder, and it will have the parallel agents working, but it didn't invoke the CloudFlow swarm. So better prompt would be start a CloudFlow swarm of specialized agents to work on or using MCP tools, or sometimes I even say start a swarm of agent with shared memory and learning that triggers calling the MCP. Yeah, you see, now it's doing, and we can see that it's invoked a couple of agents to work on different parts of the tasks, in this case, based on the initial goal plan. And I expected more agents, but okay, maybe it needs some time, to spin them up. Yeah, it's adding more agents.
So is it only you who is contributing to the repo, or some of you guys are?
No, right now I'm only one. Yeah, yes.
Is it like how you want it to be?
No, if somebody else wants to join, I'm open. I'm constantly inviting people to join. Yeah, I'm constantly inviting people to join, so feel free. And any feedback if you have on the Agentic fleet, if you try it, if you find a problem, if you having some features you would like to see or something like that, like, be a good user and report a, issue with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I guess there are some rules to follow.
Yes, like, for any open source project, like good contributing rules. Fork, create a PR. I will do the review, and then, it gets approved, or you need to do some adjustments, because I'm having, a number of times I need to ask for contributor to Agentic UI fleet to do the modification, because they, sometimes they oversee that they committed extra files or some reports or some run, that, it shouldn't be part of the, commit itself. But that's like a, basic hygiene. So if you're like developer that contributed already to some projects, you already know how to behave. So you see, we have 4 phases now, 4 agents working on a phase 1 tasks. And if we take a look at the original plan, we will see that it was created like that. So phase 1, phase 1, phase 1, there. So we have group 1 will work on database and cache. And it's already prepared agents that will work on that. That was part of the original prompt, as I asked to prepare the plan that will be executed using CloudFlow and Agentic UI agents. So it already knew that it will call coder and, tester and other agents in certain phases when they are needed.
Maybe that's why it didn't initiate the swarm.
Yeah, because it already had, it didn't have here instructions to call a swarm. So that's also a part, because it had like okay, I will call it like this, but not in a swarm. That's what that was written here. Maybe that would be a good modification of the plan to, ask it, use like CloudFlow swarms to run this. Or for the quality gates, use QE fleets organized by QE queen to do the checking.
Yeah, to specialism for testing is
Yes.
fleet, and
Yeah.
for development workflow.
Yep. So 4, and then when those 4 are done, then it should invoke the testing agent to do. But this is the tester agent from the CloudFlow. So this is not the QE agent. So I will need to run with the QE fleet when this phase is done. So this is how I'm usually doing, running in phases. And now let's see. Okay, they're running.
I started developing some small app, and it got a little complicated, but I hope it will be done soon. And basically now what I'm trying to do is, while investigating, I did as you said in earlier meetups, I installed CloudFlow, started doing it, installed QE fleet, and I'm trying to put in memory what each agent from each fleet did at the end of the MVP, or the project is pretty small, to see the contribution of
Each of the agents.
QE fleet did and what it fixed. I'm really interested to see if how it's working.
In combo. Yeah, and I appreciate that, because I'm starting to be biased, as my precious. So, I need to get the insights from the users.
You need external QA.
Definitely. Definitely. Welcome. And this is a thing that, I love showing. You can see the speed it's, creating things. So this is in the domain folder, right? Let's see where it is. Okay, so we have the shared domain, right? With value objects, email, TypeScript. Timestamp, user ID. Oh, we got you a UID. Okay, Nice. Domain event. Okay, it uses crypto. Good. It's not using the mat random. So that's also a thing that I noticed that in most of when writing TypeScript, it will use the mat random, and that's not a secure way. So it should use the crypto and use the random UID. That's a better. That's immediately better than expected. So we have the infrastructure. So let's take a look what it's creating. Okay, oh, it's just started. So JVT. Okay. Access refresh. TTL refresh, TTL issuer audience. Okay, that's a good interface for JVT. So for now, it looks good. And this started maybe 3 minutes ago, right? So yeah, let's see. Oh, this stopped. This one stopped now. So let's see. Oh, that's also a thing. Let's see how yeah, okay, not that bad. I expected more. CPU goes up when these agents are working because they are CPU intensive. You will see the CPU goes up. Not that much of the memory consumptions. This is more from the Claude code itself. But what you will also see, this will start growing significantly. So as the agents are working, read and write are, starting to ramp up significantly. Those are the numbers when I'm tracking what's happening. And okay, it's working. But yeah, how many new? The Git now has problems tracking this as the new files are being created fast. So let's give it some time and maybe take a look of something else. Oh, also one thing I mentioned earlier, but for those that were not here, this is also a repo from Agentics Foundation to take a look. This is Brad. I think he's one of the professors on the Harvard. He has his capstone project. He worked on this AI symbolic protocol language where he proved that he can reduce the ambiguity of the natural language significantly by using his AISP protocol, and created like the AI guide and the human guide. And when you look at his GIST, let me just see if I have GIST. I know that it's because I'm opening. So if you take a look at this and just go and copy this as a row. This is the experiment that I did. Oh, let's try this now with the new Opus 4.6. I didn't try it with the Opus 4.6. So let's just go to the Claude AI. Let's see what this will tell in my context, because Claude knows my context. Let's see what it will tell when I give it. Tell, analyze, and tell me what can I do with this buff. I'm quite interested to see now, because I tried this while it was Sonnet 4.5 or maybe previous Opus 4.5. Let's see. Because I'm always asking it to push back. So that's also part of the, let's say, personalization for Claude MD. So it will always try to push back.
It says that it's language for AI to AI communication.
Yes. But it translates human language into, it's not only AI, but it is really, yes, because humans cannot, we cannot comprehend that, but it needs to translate. So you need to translate first into that, and then AI can communicate in that language, with the reduced ambiguity.
So you can use Claude Code more efficient.
Yes. So, and if you have like a requirements, you can translate requirements into this and then feed it into agent. That will, give less ambiguity to the requirements when agent is reading them.
How does it work? Do you install something?
Just point the Claude here and ask it, what, because it has AI guide. So it will explain it how to use it. Yeah, this is the guide. And then, yeah. So it, 6 layers, every piece gets encoded into 3 vector spaces. Then it's a fundamental data unit, 3 parts: header, membrane, and the nucleus. Then there is like intelligence engine and binding function and hey, blah, guys, this is, over my head. I'm, good with mathematics, but this needs time to sink in. And now it's trying to apply this to my work. So, based on your context, so it now gives me in like contracts, and I have this in pipeline. I will implement this. So, adding quality tiers. So I already implemented this goals-driven search for test strategy. So I already started implementing parts from the AISP because I already asked Claude, does this matches? Not everything, but this can be reused. And I already did this. So goals-driven search. So this, like a risk-based test coverage, what we didn't cover it, really. So we're like looking, where to focus next in the coverage, finding ghost, things in the code. And then, where I push back? Okay, needs scrutiny, completion theater risk. Specs itself shows some signs. Because I'm writing a lot about, that's let's say my term that I, am speaking on conferences about completion theater. That's the behavior of agents when they're, confidently reporting that they are done when they're not. They're, trying to successfully finish the task.
This morning, Claude Code told me, now I found what was the problem. 4 times, maybe 5 times. To go to the result.
Your experience. Tell your experience from today. Because it told you that it,
It was done and it didn't go through files
at all, it didn't read the file at all. So, I finished creating tests for my, imaginative,
Tests and then didn't go through files.
So that's, misbehaving of the model today specifically, or these 3 days, as they are,
Agentic wrote some unit tests I needed for threshold coverage. I think he just added, and on brutally honest review, it said I had 300 to 600 ghost tests. And do nothing.
Yeah. So, and one more thing, Brad is releasing his AISP framework on my agentic QE fleet. So I'm waiting for him to give me like the results. So, we are, collaborating in between, trying, to push the limit of what's possible. So 3 agents already finished. So 60 files or something like that created in this 10-15 minutes while we were talking about. I will wait until this last one finish, but I will now, for the online audience, I will say now, thank you everybody who joined us tonight or who will watch this video in the next or coming days. I will stop the share to say have a nice evening, day, or whatever your time zone is, and see you in the next meetup, where we will continue working where we stopped today. Stop recording.